It's nice to be here, right? How many times do you remember that when you wake up with bad news? I think for the past several weeks, we have been experiencing a lot of things here and there in the country and somewhere very close to us. And if you remember, let me remind you a little. Did you pull? Oh, sorry. Should have this. I think starting from middle of August, this is a Hurricane Harvey, and which confirmed 77 deaths and more than 30,000 people been displaced. And then not long after that, this is a Hurricane. What is Hurricane Irma, and which is right after that. It's caused at least 132 deaths, and with a huge impact on economic. I think it's happened in Florida. And then not long after that, September 13 to 18th, there is a Hurricane Maria, which happened in the place close to Puerto Rico, and there's how much confirmed? 78 deaths, and economically caused $19 billion loss. Not long after that, this is in central Mexico, earthquake, and the 37 people were killed, more than 60,000 were injured. And then last Monday, Las Vegas shootings. So when we woke up with this message, a gunman slaughtered to the end of 59 people and wounded more than 500 others. And for that event, on Sunday, it's a night started with a celebration. Thousands gathered in Las Vegas for one last night of song at a long-awaited country music festival. They had driven in from towns all over California, from Alaska, Tennessee, West Virginia. And the people there were teachers, police officers, secretaries, retired. And it's ended up with a gunfire. For those people who have been there, many of them have been planned for a long time for reunion with old friends, for families activities, and for wedding anniversaries. And it's suddenly and rapidly ending with a hopeless shooting. And it's confirmed that all the people there to the end is 59, in confirmed deaths, and including 36 women and 27 men. The oldest one was 67, and the youngest is 20. And last Sunday I was teaching the Sunday school in Chinese congregation on Thessalonians, the book of 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. In that chapter 5, in the 1st Thessalonians, it said, "Rejoice always, pray continually, and give thanks in all circumstances. For this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." And suddenly, it's coming on Monday, something like that. It's really a direct impact of life on our faith of God. How should we practice this instruction, this order from God? This is to give thanks in all circumstances. In a mess that's like that, how do we do that? But we spend the whole week to think about this question and the readings. It's really hard sometimes. But when we specifically reading this verse, what Paul says here is give thanks in all circumstances. It's not coming for no reason, because for these two letters, Paul basically write to the churches how to stand firm in the midst of the persecution. Remember on the second mission trip in Europe, so Paul actually was sending out by his friend in Thessalonica and out of the city because of the persecutions. And the Jews, some of the Jews chasing him after he moved to the next one. So there's a strong persecution in Thessalonians. The Christians there were suffering. But Paul said, rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And notice here, give thanks in all circumstances is not give thanks for the challenge, for the bad things we encountered, but we have give thanks in them. We need to give thanks in them. How do we do that? How do we do that? I think there's a special meaning for those things happening in our life. If we pay attention, close attention to what happening in those events, what happening around the people, for the people around us, and also we pay attention to what the impact to our life, we'll realize there were so many things we can see which we will not see in the normal time. In this case, let's look through some observations happened during this period of time and see what we can really have that commandment or instruction. Give thanks in all circumstances, have a real and a solid understanding. So it's not simply by, oh, that's God's order. No, we have to firmly know why we give thanks to. What do we need to do? Actually, I want you to pay attention to think about for the good in the tragedy. For the good in the tragedy. After Las Vegas shooting, stories emerged of incredible courages on the part of those who helped the victims. Survivors turned to God. Churches responded in remarkable ways. People around the world began praying. And we can be grateful for God's redemption through tragedy. I think the first, we can be grateful for the professionals, the police department, all the people who have involved, the hospital staffs. And most people run away from the danger, but these people, they run into it. It's not because there's no dangers, but that's what they put their life to do. To save people out from the dangers. And one of the officers is among those killed, and many were hurt. They stood up in the crowds, becoming targets themselves while directing people to safety. do we really appreciate policemen around us? How many think you like the policeman be around in a normal daily life? I think in a normal situation, we wouldn't be that appreciative, if a policeman keep following us. During driving, you want the policeman keep following you. During the party time, you guys want the policeman standing around. In any occasion, sometimes when you imagine this, we're so annoyed sometimes by these people who try to put rule in our life. But when we are in need, we do appreciate their presence. I remember years ago when I was driving home on 270, nearby the intersection to Shady Grove Road. I found my car out of gas and stopped. So I parked there. At that time, I don't have a cell phone, so I cannot call anyone. I just standing there, try to stop, expecting a police car will drive by. There are several of them drove by, but none of them stopped. I was so disappointed because that's the time I need them. That is the time I need them. Eventually, there's only one cab stopped. It's taken me $40 to get everything settled. Do you like to see doctor or nurse? Whoever will make our life not comfortable, but won't. Or you don't feel so grateful for them, but at that moment, think about that on the side, how much we need a professionals to help us out for bleeding. For everything, I think, on the site. Where to go. People have been surprised that after they heard the gunshot, most of them just stand still or just drop them on the floor. No one run. Very seldom to see people running away because it's so dangerous because, it's to every trained professional, they know if you run, the chance to be hit by a bullet will be much lesser. But they just don't have that experience. They just stop and then lying there, become a still target. So we really need a lot of professional around us, especially during time of such an emergency. And at the same time, we be grateful for many volunteers. It is hardly been a day since the attack. Already, over $3 million has been raised across the country for the victims' family. And the people line up to donate their blood to the victims at the doors of the hospitals. Waiting rooms were absolutely filled. And people are posting on the Snapchat and other social media, urging others to donate blood. And so many people donate their trucks, vehicles to help transport the victims who have been wounded. You see, during this time, it's really hard to express, to see such a big impact to everyone around. What is bring to us? When we look at people around us, do we have such a feeling? What are they going to do to our life? Has any relation to ourselves? Those are people strangers. You see the stories from the media, so many touching stories. So many touching stories. but they all try to contribute to people who they do not know at all. With such a thing, all the people's heart will melt because of the love, because of the compassion. And we should also be grateful for the survivors. Whoever experienced those events, the impact to their life is huge. Because of that impact to their life is huge, their life is going to be big impact to the people around them. Think about the gunshot around you and you survived. You see, many people they have experienced being covered by other people because other people take their blade. That's how they get survived. They've been helped out. Their friends died in front of them, and they survived. They become a living message for their whole life to the people around them. Normally, what do you do if you survive anything? The first thing you do, what is it? You're going to call someone probably, right? Who are you going to call? Families. You see, people started hugging each other. Whoever heard this kind of story, what the first thing they do? They go hug their families. Even they are not on the side. Simply know this story. Simply know what's happening. Immediately. That is the echo of something deep inside, Call them to pay attention to their own life. What is the most valuable thing in their life? What is the most valuable thing? So the whole thing has a huge impact to the survivors. And the survivors, they are living messages. They are living messages. Whoever contacts them is going to hear their story. And they're going to share what is the real thing, the valuable thing they thought about at the moment they're facing death. And their life will not be totally changed. We should be grateful for the comfort from God. We should be grateful, directly see the comfort from God. The morning after hundreds of the country music fans were shot, the President Donald Trump called on God to comfort the grieving families and the victims. He said, Scripture teaches us the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. You know which verse is this? Psalm 34, 18, yes. The Lord is close to the broken heart and saves those who are crushed in spirit. There is a website called Bible Gateway. Analyze the search pattern surrounding Sunday night's concert shooting. Several verses jumped out in most read. This is one of it. What is it? The Lord is close to the broken heart and saves those who are crushed in spirit. This is the God promise of His presence at the time like this. We need God. When you read this, it's such a big comfort because we know God is there. God is grieving together with us at this moment. We want His promise on this. You know what is the next? Psalm 11, 5. The Lord examines righteous, but the wicked, those who love violence, he hates with a passion. What is this? Why this one jump out? Because at that moment, such a big violent events happen. People start to doubt the attribute of God. Where are you? Are you really the righteous, the God with righteousness? But this one is a promise, is an attribute of righteousness of God. Because it's the Lord examines the righteous, but the wicked, those who love violence, he hates with a passion. It's affirmed that God is a righteous God. We need that assurance. What is the next one? It's John 16:33. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. This is such an encouragement to the believers, to the people who is in trouble. Because said we will have trouble, but he has overcome the world. Why? Why this is important? What is tells us these verses? This is the promise of God's victory. He wants us to know, and we want to know. God already wins. What is the next one? Romans 12:19. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to revenge. I will repay, says the Lord. What is this? Why this one jump out? Why this verse is being visited so many times by people? Because we need a solution. We want to do something. We need an answer from God. How do we deal with this? But this is His promise for justice. This is His promise for justice. Look at four of this word. One is for presence. The other one is His attribute of righteousness. The third one is His promise of His victory. The last one is His promise for justice, to help us to know what we should do. That at this moment, you see how people thinking. They look up God. They want help. They want to know He is the one with righteousness, with justice, and His victory. That's why the Word of God is our bread, is our daily bread, is our strength, is a living water we need. And every moment. And it's so powerful because it's all God's promise. And we should be grateful for the church. The church made the light in the darkness. Church responded in remarkable ways. Las Vegas churches united to help the hurting during this mass death. This could be the darkest time for the city. What is the city being called? Sin. Right? It's funny. Las Vegas is called city of sin, right? And they're proud of that. Come to us, entertain. This is the city of single city. And now they experience such a period of darkness. And the pastors there, they said, there is an incredible spirit of kingdom collaboration. We are just all in it together. And it's been beautiful to see churches responding in unity. It doesn't matter the denominations, whether it's bringing food or going into a hospital. Everyone is rallying and pulling together. That is how they described it to the CBNS news. And the church sent a team of pastors and the lay volunteers to meet with the shooting victims and their families in hospitals. They offer prayers as well as practical needs like snack and water. Many churches also provide transportations to the concert goer from out of town who miss their flights to home. And the church encouraged members to give blood. And many churches are opening their sanctuaries for prayers. They opened a prayer hotline for the public. And the international churches is mobilizing the counseling hotline for those affected by the attack. But Las Vegas is known as a sin city, but where sin abundance grace all the more. And many people who rarely go to church, they start coming back to church. And we should be thankful so many converts after the events. This lady, this is teen survivor. He turns to God and changes forever. I want you to hear his testimony on the news.
This has been called the deadliest shooting in U.S. history. Stephanie Riggs is also in Las Vegas. She sat down with one of the survivors, Lynn Martinez, and explains how life will never be the same for her.
It was just gunshots and gunshots and gunshots, and a guy fell behind me. He was covered in blood. My boots are covered in blood.
Lynette Martinez thought she was hearing fireworks, but when country star Jason Aldean ran off the stage, she ran for her life.
I'm just so grateful that I get to see another day. And these are people that couldn't. And I see the videos online of the gunshots and what happened, and I can't even hear it because I was just numb to it, and I just can't. I shouldn't be getting used to gunshots.
This 16-year-old grew up overnight.
My heart goes up to everyone. I understand. I was there. And I'm just praying for every single person for healing and peace.
When Lynette sees all of these people packed into blood centers throughout Las Vegas, trying desperately to keep up with the life and death demand, she sees hope, healing, and good overcoming evil.
And it's amazing to see the blood donation banks with hundreds of people lining up, because they're not thinking about politics, they're not thinking about religion while they're doing it, they're thinking about other people. And they're thinking about people that are helpless.
Martinez still cannot believe she made it out alive.
I was waiting to get shot. I wasn't waiting to come out alive.
And now that you have come out alive, how do you see the world?
So much different. It's so different. I find I have so much compassion towards other people. I just thank God every single day.
Church is the only place she wanted to go. and is so grateful she has this community.
My heart is warmed by the many people that are coming together right now, even at this church. And it's just amazing.
And how do you feel about the gunman?
I don't think it's his fault. I don't think it's his fault. He's not right. It wasn't God. It wasn't him. It was another thing. It was an evil thing. I forgive him.
She plans to take it one day at a time and cling to her faith.
So I'm going to read the word, and I'm going to worship, and I'm going to pray, because that's the only thing that can get me through it.
You never really know how you'll respond when your world comes crashing down.
I'm going to love people more. I'm going to think of people as if they were my friend, they were my best friend, as if they were my brother, my sister, because they are. We're all together here for a reason.
May we all choose to worship in the midst of the storm. That was our Stephanie Riggs report.
You know, we heard her story, striking, life-changing experience. I think we don't need to experience the same thing, or necessary to experience the same thing she had gone through, to learn the lesson, to learn that we should have a heart for people, for other people. Big events change lives, sometimes it's heavy. If you remember this, I don't know how many remember, probably not. This is 2008 Wenchuan earthquake. In that earthquake, there's 80,000 people died, obese. And I still remember there's one story about a family. It says that sister was grateful for the events because her brother had gone through a huge problem in drug usage and has been several years he never tried to give up or deal with this problem. So it's such a pain for the whole family with the brother have a problem with drug addiction. But after this event, he changed. You see, for her, he was grateful. But do you know how many lives has been put? How much loss has been put for changing her brother? How many of you guys have survived from a big events like that, life-threatening events? Anyone? So one more thing, I think we should be grateful for our life. God did not put us over there like this. Every sunrise, sunset, storm, and warm breeze is a reminder that God has clearly revealed himself to every human being. We're so blessed. You know what happened this time? This is the last Saturday, which is the night before the mass shooting at church property. We had a campfire for the teens. And we saw them enjoy their life, their fellowship so much. We're so happy. Feel so blessed. We should be grateful for that, definitely. Back to 14 years ago, when Yo-Yo was just born. This is the second day, actually. This is June 4th. This is Arthur. He was probably 3. This is St. Louis. You know, that is, what is the date is this? June 4th. So we had our parents-in-law came to help us, but my father-in-law was not that happy to stay with us. So he decided to go back earlier. And this is the date of June 14th. That means within 2 weeks after Yo-Yo was born, he decided to go back to China, and the flight was this is a Sunday, so the flight was scheduled on Thursday. So on Sunday morning, my wife, Sunny, asked me to take my parents-in-law to have a visit to St. Louis, and together with with Arthur. So that's where we took the picture. I think this is somewhere in St. Louis downtown. And then we visit the Budweiser Center. You see the Budweiser? St. Louis is what is called headquarters for the Budweiser. And there we really enjoy a lot. What time is this? This is 11:20. And this is June 16. 2 hours later, you see this? This is the car we drove. And this place actually is one traffic light away from our home. People around this are our neighbors. And there are 4 fire trucks came to rescue the people in the car. And this is a one-way drive actually. So basically I drove, crossed the road, hit the bridge, and fell down. This is what time? 1 o'clock. And I took the picture. This is the car. And the thing is, my father-in-law was still inside of the car, actually at this part, because the car, once it hit the bridge, it flipped over. The passenger side basically, land on the other side, a little bit heavy. And this is the driver's place. And in the back, Arthur and my mother-in-law were hanging there because they had the seat belt. That's a lucky thing. If you look at this is where I came out. This is about 1 o'clock. And Yo-Yo was within 2 weeks a year old. He was just born 2 weeks. So the police sent us back to the house. Sonny hold Yo-Yo standing there, me and Arthur with all the blood, everything on ourselves, because there's no huge injury, but there's still a lot of cuts on the knees, legs. And this is what happened at that year, in June. The 4 days before my father-in-law had scheduled the flight back to China. And it turns out he cannot do it. So we sent him to hospital. And he had a little bit crack on the neck. And the time he was taken to hospital was by himself, because we were all okay actually. Arthur and my mother-in-law climbed out later. Actually, Arthur was the one first came out. The car and sitting, on the on the ground to look at everything. But my father-in-law was sent to ICU. They explained to us because it's not because of he was hurt too much, simply because he did not understand anything, whatever people say. He was screaming. He was scared to death. Because, when the car crashed, what happened here is a river, however, it's dry. And all the engine was broken, and the oil leaking out. It's black, and together with red. You cannot tell whether it's blood or oil. So he was there, stand here, was just stuck there. Later on, the fire or whoever the rescue team used the saw to cut the car away, so get him out. You know, after that, my life, this is my second life, probably, you're going to see. So it's after that, I see everything different. Every moment is different. Because everything I have, I think, is extra. I already did. That's how you see. And immediately, this is a second day later, the church people, fellowship, just came to cook, to help, living with us. You see, my father-in-law at that time was still in hospital. The whole fellowship take turns with brothers just to stay with him. And this is the experience I got. After experiencing such a horrible thing, my feeling is not blaming or sorry too much. Just to be grateful. Just to be grateful. And the same thing for Sunny, my wife. Every time we talk about whatever I'm gonna do or whatever, she's gonna say, "Oh, whatever you do, your life already gone. This is your second life." When I decided to be a whole-time minister, quit my job,